Celebrate we shall, as we welcome you to another episode of Anycast. This is my podcast on YouTube where I talk about any topic that's going on, primarily sports. But before we get to the sports, and there was a lot of sports to digest in yesterday, first of all, I know that you have been eager to get a result in the presidential election. We've been waiting a few days for that, and finally yesterday morning, we finally got our announcement, and it's one that shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. Unless you're a Trump supporter, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So Joe Biden won Pennsylvania finally, and with that 20 electoral votes, put him over the top to make him the next president of the United States. And so congratulations indeed for Joe Biden, a sign that maybe there is hope in the world, and maybe we can finally get some sense of normality. Also, congratulations to Kamala Harris. She is the first female vice president. She's the first African-American vice president. She's the first Indian vice president. She's the first Asian vice president. She is a pioneer. And she's going to set a blazing trail for others to follow. Now little girls who are wanting to achieve dreams will finally look up to Kamala Harris and say, I want to be like her. She sets the bar for everyone else to follow. And so congratulations to those two on winning the nomination. They're going to get inaugurated officially in January. And watching the victory speech last night, which was all over the news networks, gave us a sense that there is indeed going to be hope in the world. I'm going to play a cut from the Joe Biden speech, and so here's a little tidbit of that.
It didn't surprise me. Tonight, we're seeing this whole cities and all parts of the country indeed across the world. An outpouring of joy, of love, renewed faith in tomorrow. What about tomorrow?
So, again, a real good indicator that we are in the process of trying to unify this country. Because, again, we've had to deal with Donald Trump for 4 years, dividing this country, not caring about the pandemic. Biden is the complete opposite. He gives us that hope. He doesn't care about red states and blue states. What he sees is United States. There's a reason why we have that name. We're supposed to be united, and Joe Biden is going to be the one that leads us out of these dark times and get us back to normality. And so already he's making his tasks come about. He's going to start coming up with a coronavirus task force that'll hopefully help us get through this pandemic. But we'll see what happens there. I mentioned Donald Trump. I tell you what, he's the biggest sore loser I've ever seen in my life. He is not conceding defeat, and he's whining and complaining about how this system is rigged when he knew this was going to happen. He pushed the Democratic people to mail in their votes, to send in the absentee ballots, because, to their credit, they did not want to deal with risking their health and other people's health during this pandemic, which he never addressed. If he ever did, he barely did. So, again, he needs to take this defeat like a man and make the transition as smooth as possible. Knowing Donald Trump, that's not going to happen because Donald Trump is the biggest crybaby in the history of the world. He's a grown man, for crying out loud. Act like one. But to his credit, his allegiance did come in full force on Election Day. If you've seen the totals, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump have the two highest vote totals for a candidate in the history of elections. The history. We have never seen this many votes ever in our lifetime. And again, it's even more amazing considering what we're dealing with. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and everyone still got their voices to be heard. So for that, I gave everyone who came out and voted a round of applause. It doesn't matter how you vote. The bottom line is you let your voice be heard, and you should be proud of what you did. You did your patriotic duty, and the votes speak for themselves. You deserve a round of applause. I don't care if you voted for Joe Biden or Donald Trump. The fact that you went out there and voted means you care. Your voice was heard. Now, that is going to make things a little bit difficult for Biden because that tells you how many people still believe in Donald Trump. Biden's going to have to try to persuade them to join in the allegiance to try to get us unity again. So that's going to be a major obstacle, not to mention you're dealing with a divided Congress because the Senate looks like it's going to be narrowly split. The Dems regained control of the House, although lost some seats. So, again, that tells you the impact Donald Trump is. Donald Trump, he may be the biggest sore loser, but he's an under-the-radar political guy. He doesn't care about the people, but look what he did. He still has allegiance. People still worship Trump. They still follow his every word. And so to have that and to have that impact on the political side means he's still a force to be reckoned with, potentially, we shall see. Now, to close things up, I've gone on about this on Twitter, and I want to congratulate everyone at CNN. There's way too many names to list off right off the top of my head, so go check out my tweets on that. But bottom line is, everybody at CNN deserves a round of applause. In my opinion, they should get a week or two of vacation because they worked tireless, countless hours all day this last week to give us the latest on the elections, whether it was in the studio keeping track of the tallies, whether it was on the site of those key battleground states, or whether they were on site of the campaigns for Biden and Trump. Everybody at CNN did a tremendous job, and this was about as exciting and fun a coverage as I've watched. So CNN, you deserve a round of applause. And in my opinion, I think you should win a few Peabody Awards in my book. So shout out to all on CNN. You know who I'm talking about. If you work for CNN, then you deserve a round of applause, and hopefully you like this podcast too. Now, let's move on to sports because there was a lot to dive into for the sports world. For starters, let's go with the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series race. Both had similar results at the end. The leader looks like he's well on his way to winning this race, and a late caution pushes us into overtime, resulting in a dramatic finish. In the case of the truck race, Moffitt, who, by the way, was donning an awesome Jimmy Johnson tribute scheme, seemingly in command with about 3 laps to go when the late caution came in. He ends up losing the race to his good teammate, Creed, who made a dramatic surge on that last restart to win the Truck Series race and the title. Yesterday, it looked like the same thing was going to happen in the Xfinity race with Cindric. He was in the lead with about 5 laps to go. Briscoe spun out. Many were wondering if that was an intentional one or not. We'll never know because Cindric did go down, get 4 tires, come back, and beat Justin Allgaier for the race win and the title. So 2 dramatic races, and we finished up the NASCAR season today with the Cup Series title. Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, those 4 are going to be duking it out for the title. And regardless of who wins the title, the real winner is NASCAR. What they did after the pandemic is nothing short of amazing. To get back on track and to get their whole season done in this amount of time is absolutely amazing what they were able to do. Not to mention what they've done as far as dealing with the pandemic and dealing with diversity. I feel like NASCAR as a whole feels like they're in a much better state going into February than they were going into this last February. So props to them. Now let's get to the college football stuff. Obviously, the big headline was Notre Dame in double overtime, winning a thriller over Clemson, ending the top-ranked team's undefeated start. As many of you know, Clemson was playing without their superstar Trevor Lawrence, who caught I forgot if he was in close contact or if he caught the coronavirus. In any case, he was out. He missed the game against BC. He could have come back to play this game, but Dabo didn't want to take any risk. I give him credit for that. And by golly, does he have a superstar future at quarterback? I can't even pronounce his name. It's hard to pronounce. So I'll go by his number 5. He absolutely single-handedly gave Clemson a chance to win that game. I mean, he rallied them again from double digits down, forcing overtime against Notre Dame in South Bend. But in the end, the Irish were able to pull this out and come up with a huge win, which I don't think is going to shake up the rankings too much. Bama, who, by the way, enjoyed their lovely bye week, will probably take over the top spot. The real debate's going to be who's number 2, Notre Dame or Ohio State. Me, personally, I think you got to give Notre Dame credit, even though I am not giving them all the praise for the win, because, again, they were in a no-win situation. They either beat Clemson without Lawrence or they lose the game. To their credit, they found a way to win this game, and I think they do deserve some credit for that. I think they're going to move up to number 2 and jump the Buckeyes, who will be number 3. Clemson, I think, will only fall to number 4. We shall see how that unfolds. Clemson, I don't think, is out of the woods yet. However, now they're going to be in the argument with a bunch of one-loss teams such as A&M, Florida, who came up with a big win over Georgia and a statement win at that. And also you have some undefeated non-Power 5 teams. BYU impressed me because they went into the blue turf and not only beat Boise State, they beat the dickens out of Boise State. I have never seen Boise State humiliated like this before on their home turf. That is a strong message sent to the rest of the nation that BYU is a force to be reckoned with. Cincinnati also looks like they're going to be a group of 5 contender to crash the playoff party. They look good again against Houston, so I think this is going to be an interesting season. The Big Ten as a whole is a big-time upside down. We mentioned Ohio State's going to be in the mix. But would you have ever, in your wildest dreams, imagined that the only other undefeated teams in the conference that have played more than one game, I'm not counting Wisconsin because they've only played the one game to this point, Northwestern, Indiana, Purdue. And oh, by the way, Maryland's not unbeaten, but guess who they've beaten? Minnesota and Penn State, who each had 10-win seasons a year ago. Minnesota and Penn State are combined 1-5. Maryland, Purdue, and Northwestern are 10-1 combined in the Big Ten so far. Wow. I mean, let that sink in, folks. Obviously, Ohio State is still the team to beat in the Big Ten. If Wisconsin can deal with their pandemic issues and get to playing these games, maybe they'll be the second best team in the conference. But until they get their games in, the real battle is going to be for number 2 is between Northwestern, Indiana, and Purdue, because we all knew that was going to happen at the beginning of the season. Note my sarcasm there. I mean, this is absolutely a stunning start to the Big Ten season. So that's going to be an interesting battle. The Packers on Thursday night, I guess you can say got their payback over the 29ers. Granted, it was a banged-up team. I'm talking about San Francisco, not Green Bay. Pretty much didn't have anybody left from their NFC title game tilt against the Packers on Thursday night, and it showed. Green Bay absolutely annihilated the 29ers. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Green Bay did get a bounce-back win. They did kind of get their payback, but I still have skepticism about the Packers when they face the teams like the Buccaneers and the Saints. Particularly the Buccaneers, who they've already been humiliated by. Physical teams that are going to wear and tear you. Green Bay is the type of team that has to lead. They have to build a lead so they can have their pass rush defense come to fruition because they have no run defense. They are not built to stop their ground game. They have to get pressure at the quarterback, and in order to do so, they have to have a lead. They did, and they were able to get the win. And Aaron Jones, who came back after missing a couple of games due to his calf strain, Again, not his usual stat numbers, but the bottom line is he looked good and came out of the game healthy. So I think Green Bay's got to feel pretty good going down the stretch. They should be able to win the NFC North, but as far as how they're going to do in the playoffs, that remains to be seen. And then we got some big games today. We got the Bears and the Titans. That's a huge game for both. Both teams are reeling. They need to get this one to get some momentum back. Seahawks at the Bills is a big one. Buffalo has been a little bit iffy since their undefeated start. And we don't know about Seattle. They're just lighting it up because of Russell Wilson, who, again, should be your MVP. I don't care what anybody else has done. You name me one other player that has the same situation that Russell Wilson is in, and I can maybe give you an argument for that person being MVP. Until then, you got to consider Russell Wilson as the leading candidate. No defense. He has to carry this team, and they're 6-1 in arguably the toughest division in the NFL. Case closed. Now, another intriguing game in the late slate, one that's going to literally, because of one of the team's nicknames, will fly under the radar. That is the Cardinals and the Dolphins. As you know, Miami beat the criminy out of the Rams last week. So it'll be interesting to see how Tua and the team does against Kyler Murray and the Redbirds coming off their bye week. And Arizona looks like they could be a team that could make a push in the NFC playoffs. Not sure if they're a legitimate title contender, but I think they're going to make the playoffs. And then you've got the undefeated Steelers going into Dallas to face the hapless Cowboys. I would consider them cow babies because they're not even boys. Hell, they're not even men. I mean, they look like a decimated they're just disintegrated. They're just not a good team this year. Just plain and simple. So I think the Steelers are going to clobber them. And then the Sunday Nighter is a biggie, not only for the NFC South, but for seeding purposes in the conference when the Bucs host the Saints. That's a critical game in that division because the winner's going to have a stranglehold on that division, and they're going to be competing with Green Bay and Seattle for the number 1 seed, which means the first round bye and home field advantage throughout. Because remember, with the new playoff format, the number 2 seed will not get a bye week. So this is critical for those two teams to get this game. So that'll be an intriguing matchup. And then we get the Pats and the winless Jets on Monday night. Ugh. Even before we knew the Pats were going to struggle, this was a horrible decision. So I'm sure no one's watching that one. So there's that. Well, that pretty much covers it for the sports and the news this week. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your week. Let's take a moment to take a deep breath. Breathe in and breathe out. We're going to get through this. We just have to be patient. We have to respect each other. We have to unify. And let's not forget to wear masks and keep our social distancing because the COVID cases have been at an all-time high, and that's something we don't want to have. So please, when you go out and about, wear your mask. Like the fine folks who celebrated out on the streets in Philadelphia, in D.C., in New York yesterday. Yes, there was no social distancing, but at least there was a lot of mask wearing. I can live with that. So please wear your mask. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch you next time.